so I was taught how they work and what they needed to run correctly. After 2 weeks, I was sent out with a supervisor, and we fixed copiers for the people. And then 2 weeks later, they said, "You're on your own. And here's a telephone if you need it." Eventually, I was running service calls, covering a territory that made it so that I was driving 125 miles every day. And when I had been there for a couple of years, I was flown to Los Angeles to their headquarters for RICO copiers. And they gave me an extensive 1-week cram course intensive on you can fix this kind of copiers because we're teaching you all about it. It's the new, greatest, and latest. And then about a year or so later, they did that again. They sent me out to Los Angeles, and they said, "Hey, we got a new machine. You've never seen anything like this one." And sure enough, I spent a week out there learning more and getting to the point where they sent me out to Lawrence. They put 21 of those copiers on the KU campus, and I was constantly being beat to death by them. Okay? So then the evaluation was, am I doing better? Am I improving? Am I getting it? And each time, I needed to continue improving my skills and become a better technician. They even offered rewards as incentive. They said, if you do really good, you can go down to the Padre Islands or whatever there was, San Padre. I don't know where that even is because I didn't get to go. But the point is, they even had these charts they put on the wall, and they had it so that they could pinpoint where each technician was. And here's Leland right in the middle of the pack, never the back and never the front. And it's only the ones in the very front that get to go. So, Leland, come on, go a little harder, push a little more, sell some more supplies. They were evaluating. They expected better. Is being a Christian like that? Does God want greater productivity out of us for the kingdom? When we first learn, does he expect the same things out of us as after all of our lives? What do you think? Does he have a different standard for us? Well, I'll give you another example. Boot camp. Boot camp is children. Boot camp, even the young ones know what boot camp is? Okay. The drill sergeant will be harsh, demanding, unwilling to accept the goof-offs and the slackers. He'll say, it's a real war out there, and the soldiers have to be prepared for the harshness of what they will meet. They must improve. They must get stronger. They must be faster, smarter, more enduring, more loyal, to give up when physically challenged, ready to follow orders explicitly, quickly, questioning. If we expect that out of the military, and major companies in the world expect that out of their employees, is it not right if God expects that out of his Christians? There's a story in John chapter 5. Let's go there and look at it. John 5, starting with verse 1. After this, there was a great feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. John 5, chapter 5, verse 2. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first after the troubling of the water stepped in was made whole of whatever disease he had. And a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lie and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he said to him, would you like to be made whole? Wilt thou be made whole? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool, but while I'm coming, another steps down before me. And Jesus said to him, Rise up, take thy bed, and walk. And immediately the man was made whole. And he took up his bed and walked, and on the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said to him that was cured, It's the Sabbath day. It is not lawful for you to carry your bed. He answered them, He that made me whole, the same said to me, Take up your bed and walk. Then they asked him, What man is that which said to you, Take up your bed and walk? Then he that was healed didn't know who it was, for Jesus had conveyed himself away in a multitude, being in that place. And afterward Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, Behold, you are made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto you. I suppose Jesus might have been to Jerusalem before that time. I suppose he might have walked past that and seen all those people. And I suppose when it says that he knew that man had been there a long time, that this was kind of a hopeless situation. This man was never going to make it into that pool. So he waited until the Sabbath. He didn't just, well, next time I go to town, I'll heal this guy. No, he waited for the Sabbath. Do you think he was trying to just heal that man? Or maybe, just maybe, he was aiming at somebody else that was going to talk with that man. Somebody who was going to be challenged about God's rules. Do you have different rules? I say you don't carry anything on the Sabbath. This guy says you do carry something on the Sabbath. What's your rules? You got a different set of rules, kind of like playing baseball. What is the deal here? How come this guy would say to carry your bed on the Sabbath, and I say you don't? He must be wrong. But Jesus asked him, do you want to be made whole? Then you got to pick up your bed and walk. Look, you've been made whole physically. So stop sinning. Or at least word from this point, and don't choose to sin. Because then something worse than your physical disease would come on you. Something spiritual. And that would be worse. There's another story in John 8. Also starting in verse 1. Jesus went out of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him and sat down, and he taught them. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery, and when they had set her in the midst, they said to him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. What do you say? And they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he had not even heard them. So when they continued asking him, he lifted himself up and said to them, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground, and they which heard it, being convicted in their own conscience, went out, one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman, he said to her, Woman, where are those your accusers? Has no one condemned you? She said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said to her, Neither do I condemn you. Go, sin no more. Evidently, Jesus didn't think adultery was a big deal, huh? Because she was caught in the very act, and he didn't stone her. What's the deal here? Does he have a new set of rules? I thought the commandment said, Thou shalt not commit adultery, right? Why didn't Jesus stone her? He knew the law. Does he have a set of rules for her that he didn't have for everybody else? Did he set aside the commandments? What's going on there? But he said, now that you've been delivered from your enemies, you're free to go. And I'm not going to condemn you. But I have one thing for you to do. Stay close to me. Stay close to God so that you won't sin anymore. Go. I empower you to go and sin no more. Sometimes what's in between the lines that we don't always read is telling us a story. He didn't just say, all right, go now and don't you ever do that again. That wasn't the attitude. It was, go now, empowered to sin no more. You see, that's different. And that's what he was telling the guy that had been sick for 38 years. All right, you can now get beyond this. I will empower you. Sin no more. That's what he was trying to tell the Pharisees. He who is without sin. You're the one. You're the one I'm talking to. Go and sin no more. The illustration physically for this man healed was one way he was trying to get at it, and morally was another way he was trying to get at it. But it was aimed at these religious leaders, trying to help them to see that they could go sin no more also. And he said, well, in case you don't know, you've got some sins in your life. Let me show you where you need to start. And who knows? It says later that many of the priests were faithful, and they did come and follow Jesus. Thousands were converted in a day. Many of them were of the leaders. Amazing. Not all, but some responded. It could be that Jesus got through to them. Wow. There's another story. Luke 19, verse 1. Luke 19. Jesus entered and passed through Jericho. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was of the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. And he sought to see Jesus, who he was, and could not for the press, because he was little in stature. And he ran before and climbed up in a sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said unto him, Zacchaeus, make haste, come down, for today I must abide at your house. And he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. And when they all saw it, they murmured, saying, oh, he's gone to be a guest with that man that's a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said unto the Lord, behold, Lord, the half of my goods I'll give to the poor. And if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. And Jesus said, this day is salvation come to this house, for so much as he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost. Let's turn back. There was another story in Luke 18, verse 18. And we're going to compare them a little bit. Luke 18:18. A certain ruler asked him, saying, Good master, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? And Jesus said to him, Why do you call me good? None is good except one, that's God. You know the commandments. Don't commit adultery, don't kill, don't steal, don't bear false witness, honor your father and your mother. And he said, All these I have kept from my youth. Now when Jesus heard these things, he said to him, Yet you lack one thing. Sell all that you have, distribute to the poor, and you shall have treasure in heaven. Come, follow me. And when he heard this, he was very sorrowful, for he was very rich. All right. Zacchaeus was willing to voluntarily depart with his goods. Half of what I have, I'm going to give to the poor. And Jesus didn't say, well, that's not enough. You need to actually give me 100% and then come follow me. He didn't tell Zacchaeus that. He said, salvation has come to your house. And then this rich young ruler comes and he says, you got to give it all. He said, no way. I'm not doing that. You got to be kidding. I worked hard to get this stuff. Does Jesus have a separate set of rules? The rich young ruler required 100%, and Zacchaeus, 50%. Well, that was good enough. What do you think? Rich young ruler, I must be good enough. I have kept these rules all my life. But he said, you lack something. Your wealth is keeping you following me completely. That's the difference. The wealth wasn't keeping Zacchaeus from following Jesus. So Jesus didn't ask. He voluntarily gave it, but Jesus didn't even ask him. But the rich young ruler, Jesus said, I need you to do the same thing I require of everybody else. What is that? Give yourself 100% to me. And you got something hiding in front of you. Something that's hindering you, something keeping you from doing that. If you get rid of that, then yeah, you could really be successful as a Christian. You'd have eternal life. Same requirements to have no gods before him. Wow, so he hadn't really been doing it right anyway. So what does God expect from us? Does he have the same rules for each one of us? Hang it on the wall. Read them. I've done all of those. Okay, good. I'm good. All right? And then he comes along and says, whoa, I see the heart. The heart is deceitful. Yeah. Micah 6:8 tells us something, but you know this one by heart. Verse 7, starting with verse 7, Micah 6:7. Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams or with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? I don't think that'd be necessary. Okay, well then what? Well, he has showed you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Are you doing that much? Well, let me think. There's no mention of the 10 Commandments in this. Let me think. No mention. But I check them all off. But Are you being just with people? Do you love justice? That you can mix it properly with mercy. Do justly, love mercy. If you can mix the two of those together properly, that means even though the rules say 3 strikes, you're out, when you mix mercy with that, you say, just go ahead and swing till you hit it. Okay? See, God is a loving God. He's not out there, you're out. Another one. No, that's not God. Our God is saying, hey, you caught it. It only bounced once and you caught it. So, wait a minute. God, are you being fair? Your law says you can't do that. And he says, but I'm going to mix some mercy with it. You're not going to understand that. Your job is to walk humbly with me. If you walk humbly with me, you're going to be able to look at things a little bit differently. You might be able to see how you can help somebody, a Joey, someone who's weaker than you are, less experienced, someone who's struggling, so that they can become all that they can be through Jesus, through his creative power. We might just see a sick person, and instead of condemning them and saying, if you would have eaten a better diet, wait a minute. Instead of saying that, you might say, this person on the point of death is needing the assurance of God's love. Regardless of what brought them to that point, they need that assurance. And you might see a person going through a relationship issue, and you might say, well, if you would have been trusting God in this, you wouldn't be going through a divorce right now. Or you could say, a little bit more compassion, something kind that would help that person who's going through that struggle, who feels rejected, who feels abused, who feels thrown out. You can help that person instead of condemning them. And we might see that even wealthy people around us are not necessarily as bad as we think. Oh, they've got their money. They think they're so much better than us. And they got their bank accounts and their fancy cars and house. But we might not see what they do that they don't shout about. How they've helped organizations to succeed that would have never made it without their donations. We don't see because they're not out saying, look at what I just did with my money. No. We don't see behind the scenes how God is dealing with people. And we need to be a little bit more merciful because we can draw some pretty bad conclusions about people otherwise. We'll start to see what God sees. People he created, whom he loves, in various stages of their relationship with their Creator. And we'll be able to encourage each other to press on through the difficulty, to endure hardship, to toughen up, to become smarter, stronger, faster, ready to listen, follow God's soft, still voice, explicit, without question, with a faith that cannot be stopped, though shaken. Unwilling to give up when all the world turns against us. Is it unreasonable to expect that we can begin to live now within the boundaries of the rules? Sometimes people say, oh, nobody's perfect. Was Joey perfect? He was perfect at where he was. If 10 years later he was still expecting everybody to give him those same breaks in life, entitlement, there's a problem. And we've got a situation in the, I should have looked it up, but a situation where Paul is saying to the people, hey, when I first started, you could handle the milk, but now you should be ready for some meat, okay? You need to be growing. You need to progress. And still what? That's not right. And even Jesus said, there's some things I'd like to take, I just can't because you're not ready for it yet. What's it going to take to bring us to full maturity, to the point where we can constantly focus on, what does God want for me today? What's he showing me today? How is he going to change my heart today? Because I am deceitfully wicked above all things. I want the junk. And he says, no, that's not good for you. You need to choose better than that. You say, oh, but I've always done that. And he says, yeah, I know. That's a problem. You need to change. Our human nature resists change. We don't like to have to change. When the speed limit changes on the highway, and you say, it looks perfectly safe for me to continue going just as fast as I was. It said 75 a minute ago, and there's nobody in this construction site, and they want me to go 55. I just don't understand it. What's the point? Okay? And it's nighttime. Nobody's even here. Okay? We get frustrated sometimes at life. And we need to back off and say, God, you're in control. You know what's going on. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It says, whoever abides in Jesus doesn't sin. 1 John 3:6. Whoever sins hasn't seen Jesus and not even known him. Oh, so what's sin? Sin simply means I'm choosing to do something that separates me from Jesus. When he shows me something and I say, I'm not going to look at that. I am going to ignore what you're telling me. I don't want to have to deal with that. I want to go my way. I want to be rebellious. I wish you wouldn't have told me that, because now I'm going to have to deal with it, see? So God very patiently says, your time's running out. I ask you to change. I give you the power to do it. Just do it. Trust me. I'm a big enough God. I can help you through this. I can help you. You can do this. Is our opinion of God so low that we think, oh, God can't help me with this problem. It's major. It's a biggie. And he says, don't underestimate me. I created Satan. I can handle him. All things are possible to him that believes. If you don't believe God can keep you from giving in to temptation, then you're not going to call on him. You don't know what kind of a mighty God you have then, and how personal he is, and how much he wants to save you from those times. That's not just once upon a time I gave myself to Jesus. No, it's every day I give myself to Jesus. Every moment of the day, struggles are on, I give myself to Jesus. At the point where you quit doing that, he says, I'm waiting. You can do this. The drill sergeant looking down on the poor recruit saying, you can do this, soldier. Get up. Get moving. My feet are tired. I'm sore. I can't. You can do this. And they find they do have a strength they didn't realize they had. And they go that extra little bit. God isn't like that. He's not pushing us to our maximum endurance. He's pushing us to our maximum relationship. If we'll do that, we'll come off victorious every single time. Is that what you want for yourselves? Amen? Well then, what are we waiting for? Let's not allow Satan to win anymore. Today, I can stand here and tell you absolutely for certain that I had more temptations this week because I know God wanted to teach me some of these things. And he says, if you're victorious, then you can be a good example. If you're a failure, you're going to be a nothing. No. You won't say the right things. You won't do the right things because you won't have the power of the Holy Spirit. When you yield to temptation, Satan has the opportunity at that point to say, I'm in control. I read something that said he can even control your muscles, your nerves, and your organs in your body. That's pretty deep. That's kind of like demon possession, if you ask me. And we wouldn't say we're demon possessed, but when we yield to him in some way, we're asking for him to control. By default, he will, and we'll lose. And he only wants to take us down. He only wants to destroy us. And we have God to bring us up, to give us the power to overcome. We can do this. All things are possible. I just encourage you today, go forward from here knowing that you can be victorious. Don't allow Satan another opportunity to win. And when God says, go and sin no more, he will empower you to do what he has asked you to do. Let's sing our closing song. Trust and Obey, number 590.